Hey, wait a minute. You can't do that. Is this live? Oh, son of a gun. You're not supposed to be able to just do that, are you? Is this actually live? Well, gee, many Christmas. Yeah, it says it's live, all right. I did not know you could just hit one button from inside OBS and go immediately live. So, yeah. You know what? In the past, that always, whenever I hit that button, it just said you can't do that from here. So I guess they got that figured out. Oh, yeah. And then also, this is just the audio from. Interesting. Okay. Well. I bet there's going to be bad audio for this stream here because I can't figure out. Oh, yeah, you know what? It's all coming back to me. It's that one. So why is it, because I moved it to a different USB slot, but why would that matter? Well, there may be bad audio for this one. I'm just gonna fumble with this, but this is very much reminding me of how my class was this morning. This is a very accurate rendition. Um, One of these days, I will figure out why it says okay. So, oh, you know what I can do? Oh, now you're emailing me, really? Um, It's emailing me, letting me know that I'm live streaming. How dare you email me and let me know I'm live streaming after I accidentally automatically live streamed when I didn't mean to? You know? All right, let's see here. Da. Yeah, it looks like that should be working though. But then when you go over here to, I remember how to use OBS kind of. Um, It's still not working though. Anyway, nobody cares. So you're just gonna have to deal with the bad audio, and then I guess I'll figure out how the audio works a little bit later. But anyway, I was gonna set up a stream so I could talk about just the end of the season and what's coming up next, but I accidentally hit start streaming, and it worked. So here I am to talk about that. And I'm very excited that I just completed the eighth season of Consciousness Live, and that actually ended up coinciding with the 99th episode of the podcast, which I am pretty much behind on the podcast. As a matter of fact, I do have to say, like the actual podcast. So the audio part of it, not the YouTube part of it. But I'm catching up. I now have figured out how to host the audio stuff, and I've started podcasting them again. So this last season that I just completed, I'm going to start releasing them on the audio podcast pretty soon. And then for the 100th episode, I have the big extravaganza planned. I just had this book come out, Consciousness as Representing One's Mind. It's about primarily about how to test higher order theories of consciousness, but I think it's also got some other stuff to say about maybe some other things. So we'll see. But anyway, so I decided to kind of organize some sessions around my book, and going to invite like some author meets critics, author meets reader, I guess. And that tentatively is scheduled for May 2026. So that's going to be a little bit of a gap, and that's because really I'm going to become extremely like in person only for the next few months, which is why I wanted to have this kind of last hurrah online before kind of going extreme meat space, if you will. And that's really just because of my teaching schedule. I'm going to be around in a lot of different places, teaching at 3 different places actually. I'll be teaching at LaGuardia and also the Graduate Center and NYU, so bouncing around from campus to campus. And I don't really think I'm going to be having too much time to be trying to organize these consciousness live discussions or any of the other kinds of office hours or you know, whatever else I do on this channel. Anyway, so that's going to go clear pretty much through May. And then I'm going to have a break in between May and August, really. And so I'll come back and be spending more time on the YouTube channel and definitely making some announcements about this next season of Consciousness Live. I have some ideas. Some people have recommended that I ask some people, and so I will try to make that happen. But anyway, so that's the plan at this point. Is well, this week I'm still finishing up classes, and then I'll be heading up to Yale to give a talk at their Applied Philosophy and Neuroscience group, which I'm very excited about. I've never been to Yale before, as a matter of fact, even though I went to school in Connecticut for 1 year, and I drove through. Where is Yale? Bridgeport? No. Wherever it is. Some kind of haven. A New Haven? Maybe it's there. Anyway, so I'm going to be going over there, and I'm very excited to be giving this talk and meeting people interested in philosophy and neuroscience. And then the end of the semester, flurries will be happening, and then family stuff. And maybe there'll be a One More Brown Christmas. I don't think it'll be live though, if it is. But I am working on a One More Brown Christmas special, so that may be my kind of like final video of the year that I'll upload at some point, maybe after the semester ends. And then really come January, it's going to be 4 on the floor, all hooves on the ground, and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be exciting. But please, if you have anyone you'd like to see come on future versions of Consciousness Live, then please let me know. I do like to try. I get a lot of no's. Pretty much almost everyone that people suggest I ask, and that doesn't mean they always say yes. Yeah. Anyway, so I did get a lot of no's. And that doesn't mean that I won't ask again. I am sort of persistent in that way. Although if people tell me stop asking, I will stop asking. That usually doesn't happen though. I usually get a hint before that happens. Anyway, okay. Oh my gosh, I'm going down a rabbit hole of complete nonsense. So anyway, that's pretty much all the updates that I wanted to make a video. I wanted to make sure to get out there, which is just basically check out the audio podcast, recommend people I should talk to if you're interested. I'll follow up on that. I have the big extravaganza 100th episode coming up in May. That's about it. I've seen some things floating around on YouTube. I saw that Mind Chat was back, so that's interesting. I haven't got around to watching the episode though, but I'm going to. And then I saw some other things as well. So I don't know. Is there anything else? I see some people are watching currently. So anybody up to anything interesting? Personally, I've been thinking a lot about how to teach in the age of AI. Which I think is going to be a challenge for a lot of us coming up here pretty quickly. Was interesting that I saw Bernie Sanders was talking about AI and was meeting with Hinton. I do think politicians need to start paying attention to this stuff very, very quickly. Be that as it may, though, I've also, speaking of like AI and consciousness, I guess I'll just kind of pontificate. I have been thinking hard about AI and consciousness. What do you guys think about that? Uh, whether there's something that it's like, or whether there could be something that it's like for AI. And I think people like tend to go for the like neuron replacement argument that Chalmers has presented because um, one way to kind of like prove that AIs could be conscious, if you could prove it, would be to have you be the AI. So of course, if you're the AI and you can tell immediately that you're conscious, then an AI can be conscious. And so the idea of your neurons being replaced one by one, the end result of a AI simulating your brain in effect being conscious is one that people typically trot out as a way to try to illustrate this idea. Um, I guess my own views about that is I've always been kind of skeptical about AI consciousness, but I've been kind of wavering on that more and more recently. Especially because I kind of was convinced a long time ago that if the argument for AI consciousness works, it's going to kind of give you the sense of a consciousness that's different than ours. So I guess I still am a pretty diehard skeptic that AI systems could be conscious in exactly the way that we are, like have a typical human experience, um, like yours or mine, if I assuming you're a human, and that this is not some kind of training data for some AI in the future that's observing this. However, and that's because the last holdouts kind of diehard like resistant to all the arguments belief that I have is that there's something biological about consciousness. There's something important about the brain that can't be simulated or reproduced in a computer simulation. But I admit that at this point, there's not a lot of like reason to really believe that, except for wishful thinking or like, well, maybe some tangential reason. I do like this kind of Ned Block approach that there's something interesting about the way neurons work, which suggests that maybe the chemical synapses are important for consciousness. I'm not 100% convinced by that line of argument, but I do think that it's worth thinking about. And he does have this paper in Trends in Cognitive Science that came out recently that I think is very interesting in this regard. So yeah. However, when we're talking about those kinds of things, what I'm thinking about is like a typical human experience, like the kind that I have when I see red or feel pain or taste food or worry about my schedule in the next semester, these sorts of things. They involve what it's like to be me. And if AIs can be conscious, then there will be something that is like to be them, since I take that to be the important sense of consciousness that we're talking about here. Um, and if you guys remember, maybe no one does because I'm just talking to myself in my office at this point. But kind of one of the main arguments for thinking about this was this neuron replacement. But there's really two separate like subcomponents of the argument: the so-called dancing and fading qualia components. So one of which involves um, a kind of fading off of experience gradually over time, and the other one of which involves a kind of blinking out of existence. Um, I'm not really familiar. I see someone's asking me if I'm familiar with who is this art in, I don't know, art in something. My glasses, I can't read it at this angle. Anyway, I'm not really familiar with the work of Michael Levin. If who you're speaking of is an idealist. Is he an idealist? I think who's just online a lot. Is that the person you're talking about? Maybe a neuroscientist. Maybe hangs out with Bernardo a lot. Uh, why are you asking about that? If I may ask. Anyway, while you're telling me why you're asking about that, I was just talking about these fading and dancing qualia arguments and how one of them is supposed to kind of establish that AIs have consciousness at the other end. But the other of them is supposed to establish that what the consciousness is like ours. Um, and that's a kind of dancing qualia argument. The idea being um, that if you're sitting there and I'm flicking a switch, and the switch is really determining whether the artificial neuron or the biological neuron is the one that is completing the circuit, so to speak, in the brain. When the biological one is there, you have a conscious experience of like red or whatever. And then I flick the switch, and then the artificial neuron takes over, and then by hypothesis, that experience blinks out of existence because we're imagining um, uh, that the biological view is true. I just heard a noise, so did I hope I didn't reveal the location. Don't drop the Addy on me, guys. Anyway, so flicking the switch, conscious experience, flipping back and forth. The intuitive idea is supposed to be that's very strange. But many people now recognize that change blindness, and we have like intentional blindness, and these phenomenon from cognitive psychology suggest that, well, it's not super strange actually. Maybe you could have something blinking in and out of existence, like right in front of your face, under controlled conditions, and you not notice it. And that's kind of what's happening in the dancing qualia case, where it's going blinking in and out of existence. Um, and if you kind of go, all right, well, maybe that one's not as implausible, uh, then what you kind of give up is the idea that the AI system has to have exactly the same kind of a conscious experience that you do. Because it's possible that it could be blinking in and out of existence or whatever, but that there's something that it's like from its point of view, you can kind of you can preserve. Now, I still want to quibble with that, but let's suppose that you um, took it seriously. Um, okay, so then what you would kind of end up thinking is that the AI system was conscious, but that what it was like to be the AI system didn't necessarily coincide with what it's like to be you, even though it's simulating your brain. Um, and if that's the way you end up thinking about things, which I'm not 100% convinced that that's the way you have to think about things, but if that's the way you end up thinking about things, then you could arrive at the view that you could say, well, there's something that it's like to be the AI, but it's not going to be what it's like to be me. And once we remove kind of a simulation of my brain from the picture, and we're just thinking about a system like ChatGPT or some descendant of it, then we can say, well, maybe what it's like to be those things is very simple compared to what it's like to be us. But maybe we want to say that there is something that it's like from the point of view of these systems, that they do have conscious experience, just of a kind of alien kind. Um, Now, why would you think that? Well, I don't know. You could think that for many different reasons. But I guess what I'm starting to wonder is like, what are the reasons not to think that? What are the reasons not to think that AI systems have a kind of conscious experience that's different than ours? Um, Maybe even different than all biological systems. Uh, yeah. I see the message was redacted from someone, so maybe that means Michael Levin doesn't have anything to say about this, or I'm not sure. Anyway, so those are my rambling thoughts on a random Tuesday as I pontificate about consciousness. And anyway, my main goal was to deliver an update about the Consciousness Live podcast and to see who was talking about what out there. So if anyone has any comments or questions, I'm happy to talk about stuff. But other than that, I'll probably be wrapping up here not too long. Yeah. I do have I guess, yeah, I usually sometimes put the Zoom link up or something like that in the chat, but don't really have too much time to be doing that because I am supposed to actually be doing other things. Also, like everyone else, we've been sick lately. Everyone in my house has been sick. I just got sick and then got better, and then my son got sick again with a different thing. Oh, yay. Biology. Speaking of which, I've also been reading this book. Has anyone read this? It's called Alien Clay by Adrian, I guess, Tchaikovsky. I don't know how to say that exactly, but speaking of biology and how messed it up it is, highly recommended book here. Of course, I'm not all the way done with it, but so far it's really good. I'm almost done, as you can tell. Highly readable book and very interesting ideas. So, biology, fun stuff, guys. Stay safe, stay warm, and I guess I'll be going then.